Are there some simple tips you can give us for writing dialogue?
Yes, you know, the most important key to writing dialogue is that dialogue is about intention. It's about characters in stories want things all the time from the other characters that they're not getting. All of the characters. That's what produces conflict, right? Everyone knows conflict is kind of a necessity of drama. The reason there's conflict is because we don't have the things that we want. And so the best and easiest way to write dialogue is to focus in on what your character wants from the other character. And all of the characters have these intentions. It's not just your protagonist. You know, I tend to know my protagonist's intentions pretty naturally because I have a strong sense of the character and I don't really have to think about it too consciously when I write a scene. You know, immediately she'll have a strong intention. I don't have to be conscious. I will have to often be conscious about the other characters because they're not there just to serve your protagonist or your needs for the protagonist, right? They also have to have things they want that they don't have. And that's the key. That is the simplest, strongest way to write dialogue is to be aware of that, is that characters don't have things that they want. And sometimes they talk about it directly, sometimes they don't talk about it directly, right? But the words that are coming out of their mouth are not necessarily related to their want. I mean, they may not say it directly, but the underlying message is, you know, that's subtext basically, right? Subtext is what the characters mean by the dialogue as opposed to what they say. So there's this great scene I love to use in my classes in August Osage County, in the climax of August Osage County. I'm not going to be able to quote it because it is all filled with swearing. And that's one of the reasons I picked the scene. It's kind of fun when I do it in my classes. And but the Julia Roberts character is, she's demanding that her mother eat the fish that was brought for her at lunch. And we go through the scene and I ask my students what were each of the characters' intentions. And sometimes, most of the time they don't, but sometimes people will say Julia Roberts' intention is for her mother to eat the fish. And I'm like, that is absolutely not her intention. She doesn't care whether her mother eats the fish. Those are the words she is saying. But that's not the intention. The intention has nothing to do with that, right? Her intention is to distract everyone in order to stop her sister's about to reveal this big secret. And she's trying to stop it. So she's just kind of swearing at people and yelling at people in order to keep people from doing this. So her intention is to get everyone, is to prevent this truth from coming out. But her words are eat the fish, but with a bunch of F-bombs in it, So it's just a great example that, what we say is not the same thing as the meaning. And I find, by the way, that actors are naturals or tend to be naturals at writing dialogue because that's the first thing they learn in acting class is basically, right, is that we're not acting the lines, you're playing an intention. They will study the lines written by writers, and they're going to be trying to figure out what is my intention, right? It's like that old cliched scene you've seen where the Hollywood actress says to the director, what's my motivation? That's what we mean by intention. What is it I want? What do I want from the character? That's what the actor's playing. They're not playing sadness, right? That leads to bad acting. They play, I'm angry and I want this person to listen to me, right? That's the intention behind whatever the dialogue is. And so actors tend to be they tend to be more naturals at dialogue for that reason. And in fact, I've told people, beyond what I teach them, if they're still having a hard time with dialogue, that take an acting class. And I've had some people do that and end up going into acting because it's just a great way to get you thinking about intentions. And there are other factors, we want to keep in mind. You want to write the way dialogue that sounds like how we talk, which is different than how we write. So there are other things to keep in mind that, keep that, for example, we're not always grammatically correct. Even people who are very, well educated are not 100% grammatically correct all the time. That people generally are going to use contractions. Even people who think they're very proper and think they never use contractions some of the time. That they're going to have distinct vocabulary kind of word choices that they like. Little things like that. But honestly, those are all secondary. I've read scripts all the time where all the characters sound alike. That can be a problem, but sometimes if they're all coming from the same kind of social class, it's not terribly surprising. But what you can't get away with is writing dialogue without intentions. And the thing is, it makes it so easy to write. That's the good news. You just ask yourself, what are my character's intention? This character, and I like I said, I like to phrase it in terms of what does the one character want from the other character? And it should be specific. Like, I'm not a fan of loosey-goosey, they want respect. I want this person to listen to me right now, right? So real specific, intentions. And the beauty of that is the scenes write themselves. If I just establish, okay, this is this character's intention, that character's intention, I'm just transcribing. I just hear the characters argue with each other. It makes it really easy to write once you know that. It's particularly a requirement if you have a lot of exposition. Because if you don't have intentions, we know that it's just about exposition. Like, there should never be a scene there just because you want us to know something. Now, that said, you're probably going to have some scenes every now and then that are there just because you want us to know something. But you got to hide that. You got to hide that by the fact that people have really strong intentions. And so I'm not noticing, it doesn't reek of exposition to me because the characters have very forceful things that they want from each other. And so the exposition comes out like as a little byproduct of what they're saying. And so it feels natural. If you don't have intentions and people are talking in exposition, then immediately it'll reek of that. And it'll, particularly a writer will notice, even non-writers will notice, is like, this is really boring. Why are these people just, telling me a bunch of stuff? But if you have intentions, we're not going to notice that, or we're not going to notice as much.
So if it's a restaurant scene, let's say, and someone's saying that their intention is they're worried about a family member, they say, I'm worried about your sister. But instead of saying that on-the-nose dialogue, maybe, yeah, I think I'm going to have the salad. How's Jen?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, right? Eat the fish.
Right, exactly. Yes. There you go. Right.
Yeah, yeah. So the words that are coming out of the mouth are not the same thing as the intention. And sometimes characters are on the nose more, and sometimes they talk all in subtext. More often it's a bit of a mix, or you're going to have different moments of that. But yeah, what's important is the intention, not the words.
Sure. And going back to sort of the formality of the writing, even like you said, the most educated of someone might say cuz, wanna, gotta,
exactly.
Y'all, there's just different things, forget about it, just different dialects and regions, and so.
Yeah, there are things that I would never put in a formal email, that, I'll say, how you doing? I'm doing good, right? That's not grammatically correct, but that's the thing I'll say. I probably wouldn't put that in an email, so just to be mindful of that. And one last thing I'll say about dialogue too is it's the illusion of how people really talk. It should be a very succinct version of it. You lose readers very quickly with overwritten dialogue. Dialogue should go at a pretty fast pace. There are going to be exceptions. You might have people make a speech every now and then, but most of the time, it's a couple of lines max, back and forth. You want to trim everything you can. Even if you have a character that the idea is they ramble on and on, I don't want to write that for too long because it gets tired. It's more, you would indicate that more by the character starts talking and somebody goes, oh, here he goes again, right? We don't actually want to hear the character go on and on and on. So keep that in mind. It's a really succinct version of that. A real sign of bad dialogue is where I almost feel like the writer was was trying to pad their pages or something, because the characters are having the same argument, maybe slightly different words, but they're making the same points over and over again. You don't do that. Make your point once and move on, right?
So if I'm waiting for the bus, I get on the bus, I show the bus driver my flash pass or whatever, and then I say, do you stop at First Street? Instead of him saying, yes, ma'am, we stop at First, he would be, yep, and keep moving, and very little interaction.
As succinct as you can. Yeah, there's a great example that was from Hitchcock's movie Marnie. There's a woman who is in a forced marriage, and it was originally written as this long scene, and where we see the wedding, and then the reception, and all these different things, and then finally at the reception, it ends on a shot of the flowers on the table that say congratulations. And Hitchcock said, yeah, let's just cut to the flowers. We didn't need any of all that other stuff.